Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Transpicuous news, connecting the dots between the lines.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Transpicuous News. I can't speak. It's going to be an interesting show. We'll see how it goes. It was kind of a quiet week on the surface. Lots of ridiculous distractions. I mean, seriously, Obama must be getting desperate, and the kind of stuff that all these guys, not just him, like Cameron, Obama, Harper, just keep throwing out there all the distractions. No, don't look at all this other stuff. Let's talk about the Kardashians, right? Again. But there was some interesting stories. First one up, something I certainly didn't know. We think of the glyphosates and the GMOs and all this, and we think about it in terms of the food we ingest, or perhaps the chemicals that you put on your skin. Things like creams and soaps and shampoos and stuff. Tampons? Carcinogenic glyphosate found in 85% of tampons, maxi pads, like disposable menstrual pads, and get this, sterile gauze. Because you've got an open gushing wound, so you get out the sterile gauze. You want it to be impregnated with glyphosate. No, really, you do. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Seriously. So this is a little bit of news that is kind of radical. Like, oh, wow, people need to take a look at this one, don't they? The Robo-Bee becomes the first robot that can fly and swim. Now, this is kind of humorous. It has taken less than 2 years for a robotic insect called Robo-Bee to advance from making its first controlled flight to now being able to both fly and swim. Harvard University, yes, originally developed the prototype Robo-Bee with the following future purposes in mind. One, autonomously pollinating field crops. Well, you got Monsanto and the glyphosates killing off all the bees. You got to do something to pollinate your crops. One would almost think it's like a I'll pat your back if you pat mine kind of situation. Yes, they're going to use it for search and rescue, and hazardous environment exploration, military surveillance, high-resolution weather and climate mapping. Really, I have a hard time believing that one, and traffic monitoring. So yes, very soon, that little buzzing, annoying thing around your head may not be an insect after all. How excited are you to hear that? Now this, one of my favorites, whoever these guys are, I applaud you. Forget the tinfoil hat, and NSA-proof wallpaper could keep snoopers and doomsday electromagnetic weapons at bay. New flexible material can block electronic emissions. Signals that could be used for cyber snooping can also block electromagnetic doomsday weapons. I think they just got to push that doomsday weapons. A Utah firm has revealed a new flexible material that can create a Faraday cage blocking all electronic transmissions in a wallpaper. It's not much more fashionable than a tinfoil hat, but I'm sure they have different patterns coming out. Maybe something just like plain white. Yeah, so there you go. You can have a Faraday cage wallpaper for your house. Maybe we could just get some and make them into hats with patterns. I don't know. It could be fun. I bet you someone's already thinking about it. This was an interesting little piece. So apparently, right, remember a few months ago, they sent the robots into Fukushima in Japan in the reactor, and they just died. It was like, oh, the robots died. It must be so terrible in there. So they sent another set in. And they're doing underwater footage in the actual cooling chambers, and they catch a little life organism, little fishy, little aquatic things swimming around in there, which of course opened the door for every Godzilla joke on the face of the planet, which was humorous. But it's also that question. We've kind of danced around this on the round table a few times. Did I fall offline? I don't know. I don't know if you guys heard it or not. I'll continue. We talk about...
No, they didn't.
What was that?
They didn't hear you.
Okay, should I start this screen over?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to count you back in.
Okay.
You'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're back.
I'm back. Sorry. Technical difficulties. You know, not that this should be new to any of you who've been watching the show for a while. So, Fukushima, Japan. Remember a few months ago, they sent the robots into the reactors, the nuclear reactors in Fukushima, and the robots died, and it was also very dramatic. Well, they've sent another set in, and they got some video footage in the water coolant chambers, and in the middle of the video, you see a little aquatic life being, little thingy swimming around. And of course, like I said, it kind of opened the whole door to every Godzilla joke imaginable, which was fun for about 5 minutes. But it opens the door to a bigger question. Now, this is what should be the most radioactive water pretty much on the face of the planet. Yet there's something swimming around perfectly alive and well in there. It brings up again the question of, are they telling us the truth about nuclear energy? Are they telling us the truth about what the side effects are, or perhaps how long those side effects last? I always go back to the whole Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and of course we all learned in school, you know, a nuclear bomb, only the cockroaches will be able to live there for 100 years. Hiroshima is doing quite nicely actually nowadays, and it's quite beautiful. So yeah, it just opens that little doorway of again, maybe we need to look at this nuclear question, because it just keeps kind of coming up for me over and over again for years now. But let's move on. So the big news this week, the big news was, oh, there's Hurricane Patricia. 24 hours, goes from a little bit of a storm into a Category 5, biggest hurricane ever seen. Oh my God, the whole world is going to explode. Or at least Mexico and Texas. Yeah, got lots of airtime, lots of coverage by everyone. Yes, no one's ever seen a tropical storm suddenly turn into a Category 5 mega hurricane catastrophe. Armageddon is coming on a windstorm. Which, of course, didn't really pan out the way they thought it was going to, did it? Lots of little reports with, you know, things like Weather Network and the Western news agencies have tried to play up the catastrophic edge of this, but really, it was a washout. I mean that quite literally, actually. No mudslides, no deaths. Injuries that did happen were very, very minor. And some of the reports coming out of Mexico are like, oh, you call that a storm? Seriously? Little bit here. At its peak, Patricia was the most powerful hurricane recorded in the Western Hemisphere with a maximum sustained winds of 200 miles per hour, so they say. The storm, here's the just little hint, the storm was also moving fast enough at landfall, about 20 miles per hour, that its heavy rains did not stay in place long enough to generate the kind of devastating floods we've seen in the past from Mexican hurricanes. Now, I love that they give the excuse of, well, you know, the coastline, and there was, you know, mountains that kind of broke it up, and it kind of, you know, the mountain area quickly weakened the storm, and the coastal landscape did not offer the right conditions. Because apparently the coastal, you know, geography and the mountains just appeared for this storm. You know, like, it's not like they've been there for every other fucking hurricane that's come through and ravaged Mexico. No. Just this storm. It just stopped the storm dead. And yeah, 20 miles an hour winds. So went looking to see what Jim Stone had to say about this. Because, of course, where's Jim Stone? He's in Mexico. Hurricane Patricia never existed and is a U.S. government-sponsored global warming hoax. The eye wall, which only exists in computer models, went directly over Puerto Vallarta, yet there were no significant winds. There was no damage or deaths, only heavy rain. This hurricane hoax arrived 2 days after the U.S. federal government threatened all NOAA, NOAA, and other weather agencies that if they went against the official word, they would be jailed for breaking a gag order. The Mexican news gave the final report on the hurricane. Now there's no news. Now, as he says, he's only 150 miles away from where the eye of the hurricane was supposed to have been. It barely so much as rained. Where he was, it was barely a breeze. So I went looking, and I spent, I don't know, I went through about 180 photos on weather.com. Go check out the damage. So 180, I've got a few of them here for you. So you can see, yeah, you know, there's some wind damage. You can see palm fronds and some branches, a lot of leaves. Here's a beach off the side where it supposedly hit. Again, palm fronds, some branches, a couple coconuts. And then you get the building here with a grass roof and a perfectly intact grass roof. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's some more damage. You can see, yeah, I mean, the palms definitely took some wind damage there, which really, if anyone's lived anywhere near palm trees, they don't do well in high winds. Oh, look, there's another grass roof. Looks intact. Oh, there's another grass roof. That looks pretty much intact too. Look, here we go again. Look, a little tree here broken in half, more little branches. We got some leaves. Oh, and another grass roof, thatched, just intact. Now, of course, the interesting thing was that Mexico tried to drop the U.S. petrodollar for oil sales. Largest hurricane ever directly hits their oil field, or was supposed to. Of course, by the time it got even about 50 miles inland, it had already gone and just became nothing more than your average rainstorm. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence. No, really, it is. So yes, government implements an illegal gag order on National Weather Services and NOAA employees. Jeff Rucha, the executive director of PEER, the Public Employees and Environmental Responsibility, said this about this gag order. He says, the National Weather Service is about the last place where national security-style secrecy rules need to be enforced. Rucha noted that the broad scope of the gag orders put much of what goes on inside the agency under wraps. Everyone's free to talk about the weather, except for the people working inside the National Weather Service. Go figure. Some time ago, I personally spoke with a NOAA scientist who said, we all know what is going on, climate engineering, but we are afraid to speak out. We have no First Amendment protection. There's a lot of that going around recently, isn't there? Gag orders, new laws to stop scientists from talking about, you know, climate change or, you know, disputing climate change, global warming, you know, all that good stuff. Now, we're going to talk about the geological here because Dutch Sense did two really important videos. Everyone should take a couple moments and look at them. This one here was October 21st, that in 1 week, there was an entire shift of the North American craton in 1 week in the US. Then, right after that, now I couldn't get the video to load the second time I tried to watch it to grab some screenshots. So I'm just going to show you on this global, this is the Emsc Earthquake Map. There was, in less than 24 hours, I think it was just over 18 hours, a series of earthquakes that ran in absolute perfect symmetry. Okay, started up here, and they ran one after the other, boom, 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 boom. Of course, you got to skip over here, and up the coast of Chile. Less than 24 hours. And they ran perfectly in a line, perfectly synchronized. And as Dutch Sense says, according to what's being taught in universities in geology and seismology, of course, this can't happen. But of course it did. So, you know, basically, if you're in university studying geology and seismology, you just got ripped off for God knows how many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And maybe you could talk to Dutch and he could give you some private lessons. I don't know. I think it's funny how many internet scientists, shall we say, are able to actually give good information because they're not allowing themselves to be indoctrinated by the bullshit of what's accepted theory. You see it, you call it. Dutch does it all the time. And let's face it, he's pretty damn accurate, isn't he? Oh, Canada. Yes, it was the Canadian elections last week. And yes, Stephen Harper's gone. Everybody cheer. Okay, moment's over. And with a majority win, the Liberals come into power, led by Justin Trudeau, who is the eldest son of former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And, you know, and so it started, you know, oh, you get such a hunky Prime Minister. Apparently, no one gives a shit about anything that he does as far as a government, as long as he'll, like, I don't know, take off his shirt and flex his abs. So, yeah, good job, all you shallow people out there who just want to look at something pretty. Maybe you can vote a supermodel as your next president. Because, let's face it, none of the ones that you've got up there to vote for so far are very good looking. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It was literally turned Canada into a dog and pony show of, let's not talk about anything except, you know, how young and good looking Justin Trudeau is. Now, the interesting piece is, and we'll watch, because we know he's just another talking head. Of course, he's just another talking head. He's just another Harper in a different party dress. Literally. Rumor has it, well, it's not rumor, actually, it was fully verified, that the night of his election, when he was elected, he called Obama and said he is withdrawing all Canadian air support from Syria and Iraq. All the Canadian fighter jets are being pulled back. And everyone went, oh, he's going to be under me. He's going to change it all. He's going to change it. Yeah, no, he's not. But we'll watch The one thing I pointed out to everyone is he says he's going to remove them, but he didn't say when, did he? Didn't say when. So it could be just another one of those Obama, it's time to bring the troops home from, Afghanistan. 10,000 troops still in Afghanistan years later. So don't get your hopes up. Another big election happened today in the Ukraine. Apparently, Chewbacca got arrested while trying to drive Darth Vader to the polls, who, it goes without saying. Video is hysterical. It's on RT. Take a look. But it's the commentary that's always good. Sunday, it seems, is not the best day for calls to join the dark side in the Ukraine. As the country goes to the polls and any campaigning is forbidden, Chewbacca felt the harshness of the law as police handcuffed the growling creature in the country's south, in Odessa. Lord Vader complained about the detention of his supporter. He also said he failed to cast his own vote as he was missing from the lists of people entitled to cast their ballot, despite the fact that he has a Ukrainian passport issued for Darth Alekseevich Vader. I want a copy. I want to see that passport. So yes, Ukrainians are casting ballots in the poll, viewed by many as the confidence vote in the ruling conditions, blah, 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 blah. There's a number of strange incidents that took place around the country. Strange incidents on voting day? Oh, I can't imagine how that could happen. In Kiev station, where President Poroshenko is voting, they opened late because the chair of the Elections Commission lost the key to the safe, which contained the ballot papers. So the safe had to be cracked using a circular saw, which allowed the president and others to then vote. I'm like, first of all, if they could crack their safe with a circular saw, perhaps they should get a new safe. And wait, isn't this the second time Poroshenko had issues in his electoral region for voting? Pretty sure that happened last time, didn't it? Didn't it? Pretty sure it did. More trouble, and this is in Montenegro. Thousands rioted in the streets, demanding the instant resignation of the Prime Minister of Montenegro and a snap election. It got rather nasty and ugly, but then if I was the people of Montenegro and what's happened to them in the last few years, yeah, I get it. Perhaps it's time to take that one to a new level and say, time to go all Iceland on them. And if you want election bullshit, this article came by today. I literally left me with my jaw. You've got to be kidding me. Portugal's president won't allow leftists to form a government. Well, it's not what you think. They were voted in. Those on the left control a majority in parliament, but the president says letting them govern would violate commitments to the European Union. Wait a second. The people of Portugal voted these guys in a democratic country, purportedly, into their positions, so much so that the anti-austerity groups took a majority. And the president has decided he's not going to let them rule. Really? I foresee there could be some issues in Portugal real soon. Like, really soon. Oh, of course, this might have something to do with the fact that Portugal is where the Rothschilds hide all their money. But I didn't tell you that. So, other interesting one, this came out of Italy. There were a few Italian websites and papers, alternative mostly, that ran with the story. Of course, no Western media did. That Pope Francis has a brain tumor. And his doctor is a special Dr. Fukushima, which I kind of giggled at, although apparently it is a rather common name in Japan. from Japan, visited the Vatican in January, in Pisa on October 21st. Pope Francis has a tumor. The Pope is sick. Months ago, it was discovered a dark spot in the brain. A small tumor is treatable. For the Japanese luminary who follows him would not help the surgery. Sorry, guys, it's a really bad Google Translate. The news published by our newspaper has triggered reactions worldwide. Now, you might toss it off, and you might just say, it's like fucking bullshit. Except that August 2014, Pope Francis said to an entire plane full of reporters, I only have 2 or 3 more years yet before I go to my father's house. When he asked how he was coping with the huge popularity, the pontiff replied, because I know this will be just a short time, 2 or 3 years, and then to the house of the Father. And he made a sheesh type gesture. So, is that maybe some of the background for the whole pray for me shit that went on in Washington, D.C. and New York? Don't know. I find it very interesting, though, and one to watch. And this was just pure frustration for me because so many people just can't do simple math, apparently. Iceland sentences 26 bankers to a total of 74 years in prison. And the alternative media went, it's awesome. Oh, look, it's Iceland charging their bankers. We should do the same. I'm like, dudes, 26 bankers, 74 years in prison. They got less than 3 years each. To which Nick commented, oh, look at that. Destroy a country's economy, steal billions of dollars. Apparently, it's now just a misdemeanor. I'm sure most of them will get out on parole, for good behavior. No insider trading or anything while they're in their prison cells. Now, President of China was in the UK this week. And there were some interesting little bits and pieces that came out. We're not going to get into it now because I really want to take a look at some of the stuff that's come out with this. One of the big things, though, out of the China Daily saying Beijing is to partially finance a $28 billion major nuclear power plant in Britain to supply electricity to 6 million homes. Beijing and London secured deals worth about 40 billion pounds sterling, about 62 million American, on Wednesday during President Xi Jinping's first state visit to the UK. And of course, my question is, so where are they getting all the money? Because, I can do math too, and I don't know, unless they got lots of money hidden away, which we know they do, but still, really. And for the people who are, there's been a lot of comments in your alternative sites such as Zero Hedge type alternative sites, saying things like, oh, England is really, sucking up to China. And look at, you see how the AIIB Bank in England jumped in on that, and now they're going to be involved with other stuff. And, okay. It's not a matter of England jumping in on China's side. It's a matter of they're all on the same side. Just, different party dress. We'll get into that another time. I'm too bored with it to talk about finance today. 81 major corporations, including Google, Facebook, Coca-Cola, and General Motors, signed a White House pledge to back global climate change deal. Now, on the surface, it's all about cutting back their carbon footprint because, those CO2s are just devastating Mars. We got to do something about it. I don't know, but when you start talking about Google, Facebook, Coca-Cola, and General Motors, and Bank of America, Morgan Stanley and stuff like that, you have to sit there and go, really, is that what this is just about, or is this just getting more corporations to push it from the background? Yeah, I think there's going to be more come out of this in a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm almost sure of it. The best story this week, by far, If you missed this, you obviously had no internet or were off social media completely. Netanyahu at the 37th Zionist Congress, the very fact that it's called the Zionist Congress, no, never mind, I won't go there, states Hitler didn't want to kill the Jews. It was the Palestinians that made him do it. No, really, they did. I have never seen social media blow up like this. It was hysterical. The memes that have come out of this have been unbelievably hysterical. Holocaust experts to Netanyahu, no, a Palestinian did not convince Hitler to kill the Jews. And Germany's response, no, it was us. I literally, and some of the tweets that came up, and one of my favorite ones was one of this down here saying Netanyahu's Hitler comments essentially makes him a Holocaust denier, which is illegal in Germany and multiple other European nations and Israel, I think. So, I don't know. It's just too funny. But the biggest giggle, The Simpsons. Opening sequence of The Simpsons this week. Bart Simpson writing on the chalkboard, Mufti made me do it. I'm going to miss this show when it's gone. This is the last season. And, just reading the chalkboard every week is always entertaining and educational too. Now, one of the totally ignored stories from 2 weeks ago, I just stumbled across this week. South Africa is quitting the ICC, the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and a landmark decision is bound to spur greater debate on the ICC and its inherent biases. Now, it goes into here about the fact that a good portion of the ICC has gone after charging Africans and African nations, et cetera, and not, turned a blind eye to everything else. But it's not just that. It's more important in that spur a greater debate on the ICC and the fact that a country can just up and leave, kind of like the US, and say, no, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm done, and walk out. And really, what good is having an international criminal court when the only way you can get a charge to stand is if the person you're charging or the country you're charging agrees to it? So, yeah, dog and pony show right there. Yes, and Obama appointed a new appointee to the FDA. The Food and Drug Association is a big pharma mega lobbyist. Because, we're also shocked that Obama would put like a big pharma lobbyist in charge of the FDA. Because it's not like he hasn't done this shit before, right? So shocked. This was an interesting story, though. A company in out of the U.S. called Overstock, and they're a online retail. And I actually went looking through the site today. I'm like, they've got a really fucking cool site. If you need to buy shit, online type stuff, I'd go check these guys out. It's overstock.com. They've got some real interesting stuff. Let's just put it that way. But here's the thing. While speaking at a big conference, basically the CEO and the financial head of finance basically states, we're not big fans of Wall Street and we don't trust them. We foresaw the financial crisis and we fought against the financial crisis that happened in 2008. We don't trust the banks still, and we foresee that with QE3, QE4, and QEN, that at some point there's going to be another significant financial crisis. So what do we do as a business so that we can prepare for when this happens? One thing we did that is fairly unique, we have $10 million in gold, mostly in small coins, gold and silver actually, mostly in small piece coins, to ensure that they can always pay their staff. There will, he said that, when there's a financial crisis, could be a bank holiday, you have no idea how long it could be for. So they have 10 million in gold and silver denomination, small enough that we can use it to pay payroll. We want to be able to keep our employees paid, safe, and our site up and running during the financial crisis. Oh, and they have enough food for every employee to last 3 months in storage. Yeah, I kind of like this company. You know, I'm not really big on consumerism, etc., but I'm like, yeah, if you need to order shit online, you should check these guys out. I like the way they think. And Hillary fucking Clinton. Benghazi, emails, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck. And if Americans, the average people, are too fucking stupid to figure it out, as I said, they ain't worth saving, apparently. Call me judgmental. Now, this was a great little article because, you know, we always talk about the distractions, right? 5 vital stories the media failed to report on while the public was obsessing over Lamar Odom, I have no idea who that is, and the Kardashians. 1, the UK government conveniently deleted an entire database of evidence documenting pedophile rings. It was a glitch. Oopsie. 2, newly released emails exposed George Bush and Tony Blair plotting the Iraq war a year before the invasion. Public, it's all out there, documents and copies of the emails. 3, Russia destroys most ISIS heavy weaponry, and the US promptly airdrops 50 tons of weapons and ammunition to the Syrian opposition in Syria. 4, the DOJ creates a domestic terrorism council to target anti-government views in the US. That's so special. 5, leaked drone papers reveal that 90% of people killed in the US drone strikes are innocent civilians. All this information was publicly released, and the vast majority of the public was watching baseball games, or football, or the Kardashians. I don't even know who these people are. So, yeah, distractions seem to work really, really well. Really, really well. Yeah. What also wasn't announced at all by Western media, this is a major piece. Russia received authorization to start strikes against Daesh, ISIS, inside Iraq. Here we go, boys and girls. Russian airstrikes to take out ISIS in Iraq. We said it was coming. Guess what? Well, of course, this was kind of followed by the US to Iraq. If Russia helps you fight ISIS, we can't. And I think at that point, Iraq went, thank God, get the fuck out. Because we're kind of had enough of your help. Your help. Yeah. And I said, we need to keep an eye on Jordan. I said, there's a shift going on in Jordan. You can see a dramatic political shift happening. Well, guess what? Russia and Jordan have now made an agreement to coordinate actions on Syria from an airbase within Jordan, and others are invited. Now this, again, is major shift in political alignment, major shift in the Middle East, and let's say the flow of power. We'll call it that. So, picture's worth 1,000 words, right? No, this was actually funny. We'll get back to the picture in a second. Russian foreign minister has now offered to extend aerial support to the Syrian rebels, and they've accepted. So the Syrian rebels that the US is telling, and the US media is telling people that Russian airstrikes are deliberately targeting the Syrian rebels, the opposition to Assad. I mean, that's what they're trying to sell to the American and the Western public. Meanwhile, Russia is actually dealing directly with the opposition, saying, hey guys, can we help you guys out with these ISIS guys? And then we're like, fuck yeah, come on in. So now the US is standing there like with their thumb up their ass going, now what story are we going to tell them? Because, yeah, mainstream media, they're extending aerial support to the Syrian rebels. Dun, dun, dun. And Jimmy Carter has apparently just said that, yeah, he gave Putin secret maps of ISIS locations for better bombing. Former President Jimmy Carter said recently he provided maps of Islamic State positions in Syria to the Russian embassy in Washington, a move apparently at odds with the Obama administration's official policy of not cooperating with Russia in the Syrian war. Which I thought was interesting. And apparently Jimmy and Vlad are good, like, fly fishing buddies. So there you go. I don't know. I just find the story really cute. So yeah, and we've got this whole bit here. The U.S. drops supplies Syrian rebels with 50 tons of ammo right here on CNN, fully admitted. Right after Russia goes in and wipes out all the terrorist ammo dumps. So the U.S. have to go in and drop more ammo. And the U.S. and Turkey, what are they going to do? They're pretty much fucked. So the U.S. and Turkey are creating a buffer zone. This was an awesome article by Tony Cartolucci. It was basically, it's to save ISIS, not to stop them. Russia's intervention in Syria has derailed the U.S. regime change efforts aimed at Damascus. It also threatens America's secondary objective of dividing and destroying Syria as a functioning unified nation state. Long sought after buffer zones as the primary strategy of choice by the U.S. and its regional allies for the deconstruction of Syria's sovereignty and the intentional creation of a weak, failed state, not unlike what the U.S. and NATO left within the borders of Libya in 2011. So the buffer zone, they're selling its buffers. While the U.S. seeks to sell its buffer zone strategy under a variety of pretexts, from protecting refugees to fighting the so-called Islamic State. The reality is they're trying to open a doorway so that all that their paid mercenary terrorists can get the fuck out of Dodge, because they're not doing so well in Syria or Iraq right now. So yeah, picture's worth 1,000 words. Just to put this into perspective, right? So here's Syria, there's Iraq. So, Russia's now working with Iraq in airstrikes. So basically that entire border has just been shut down. Oh, there's Jordan. Oh, Russia's working with Jordan. So that border's kind of no good either. Here's Lebanon. They'd be fucking stupid as all hell if they thought they were going to try and use Lebanon. That would not be smart. Which leaves Turkey. That's right. So expect a large influx of, and we know about it, they've been talking about it on the news for a week and a half now, of mercenaries running up through Syria to get into Turkey so they can hide under Uncle Sam's dress for protection. I don't know. I'm sorry, I have a really strange sense of humor. I can't help myself. Now, Russian mainstream media. This is Sputnik. Russian Syria operations to smash terrorists and end the tyranny of banking elite. And nothing that we don't know. But this is mainstream media coverage out of Russia. The Russian intervention has exposed the fraud of the U.S. position in the Middle East and shown the world that Washington lies, that she supports the very terrorists who allegedly were behind the September 11th, 2001 attacks in New York and the Pentagon. Basically, the Kremlin's decision to provide Syrian legitimate government of Bashar al-Assad with military support has shifted the global geopolitical map significantly. Russia's involvement in Syria actually means the decline of the US-led New World Order as declared by George H.W. Bush in 1990. That, the fact of the New World Order and the George Bush 1990 statement, that's huge peace, people. And also, of course, the mention of September 11th. Mainstream media, Russian, always skewed for their purposes, of course, just like every media is. But interesting. Now, I want to just clarify, because there seems to be, since the whole airstrikes, the Russian airstrikes in Syria started, there's been a huge amount of people who are like, yay, Putin, Putin rocks, he's the hero, he's the badass, and Obama's just his bitch now, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And I agree. I actually kind of like Putin because he is a badass, because he just doesn't. And the way things are playing out in Syria, in the Middle East right now, the proof is in the pudding. But do not be fooled. Putin is not the knight in shining armor. He's not riding in on his white horse with his long hair blowing in the wind, Prince Charming type thing. He's also working with China, remember? Along with England in the EU. And everyone except the US, pretty much, really. It's just a different side of the same coin. Same controllers, same bankers. It's just the other side of the coin. Or a different color party dress, if you will. So yeah, it's okay to cheer him on. God knows I've been cheering this guy on a lot over the last month. But we also need to keep that kind of clear in our minds too. Don't expect this guy to be doing it at the good of his heart. He's not agendaless. He has an agenda. So just wanted to kind of put that in perspective a little bit, because it's an important notice for everyone to kind of wake up and smell that coffee every so often on these kind of topics. Just make sure we keep our perspective on stable ground. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to a little bit more on the lighter side. So you remember all that stuff that was thrown out there by the mainstream media about the Syrians throwing out the food that was given to them by the Red Cross and the UN? And I made jokes at the time going, yeah, would you trust the Red Cross and the United Nations if they gave you food? I certainly wouldn't. Don't bite the biscuit. The UN accidentally ships expired biscuits to Syria, and Rome wants to send doctors in. Well, this is kind of cute, because it's like, on the one hand, they're trying to assure everyone, well, yes, the biscuits are expired, but it'll be okay. Like, if you eat them, there's no danger to your health. Like, it'll be fine. Probably taste like shit, but they'll be fine. Yet, on the other hand, they want to send doctors in. Really? So which is it, United Nations? Is it that they're harmless? Or is it that you wanted to send doctors in? And for what reason? So what? Oh, so you can vaccinate some more Syrian children for polio for the 5th time? Really? Syria, just keep those guys out. Trust me on this one. Now, UN expert claims the TTIP trade deal is illegal global casino. Again, this is Sputnik, so it's got a skew. It's Russian media. Independent UN special rapporteur on human rights has branded the controversial EU-US transatlantic trade and investment partnership as a grand global casino where investors rig the system to guarantee that they always win. He said many of the arbitration awards under the existing US ISDS system have overridden national law and hindered states in the sovereign determination of fiscal and budgetary policy, labor, health, environmental regulation, and have had adverse human rights impacts also on third parties, including a chilling effect with regard to the exercise of democratic governance. Not to mention a complete lack of transparency. Interesting. The Europeans don't like it, I can tell you that much. It's going to be very interesting watching how these things roll out. We're definitely keeping our eyes on them. And Tony Blair this week, snake that he is, acknowledges that ISIS stemmed from Iraq, but he does not apologize for toppling Saddam Hussein. Right. Because we expected more than that. Now, we're going to talk about timing. 3 Chinese warships are to dock in Florida at the time when the U.S. and China are practically at arms over the artificial islands in the South China Sea, with U.S. sending warships on location to patrol, despite the White House saying that they should not provoke anything, and a sudden response from China saying, don't even fucking come over here, we'll kick your ass. All of a sudden, Chinese warships are going to be docking at U.S. naval base in Florida. Of course, the officials were all like, well, you know, we already made these arrangements kind of like before all this new shit started off. What's interesting is that officials would not elaborate if there would be at-sea training component to the visit between the 2 navies, slated to run from November 3rd to the 7th. November 3rd. Well, let's talk about November 3rd, shall we? Treasury Secretary Jack Lew gives a strange warning about a terrible accident. Because guess what? It's debt ceiling time. Again, I know they keep wishing that everyone would just forget about it, but yeah, it's back. It's back again. It's that time of year. In an interview on CNBC's Squawk Box on Monday, October 19th, Treasury Secretary Jack Lew warned U.S. Treasury will run out of money by Tuesday, November 3rd, less than 2 weeks from now. It's a story we've heard before, as the debt ceiling has already been raised 74 times since 1962. But Lew added a strange warning about a terrible accident, where he said, I worry every time we hit this that sometime there could be an accident, and that would be terrible. According to our best estimate, November 3rd is when we will exhaust what we call extraordinary measures. And after that, basically, it's COD, cash on delivery, folks, everything cash. Now, this is interesting, because this comes across, and I've covered this, and this speech even, almost word for word, back in February of 2014, when we did a couple of big write-ups on the debt ceiling, aka special maneuvers of the Fed, the Treasury. Debt ceiling crisis was going on then. At that time, Jack Lew, Treasury Secretary Jack Lew told congressional leaders Friday, in essence, that the full faith and credit of the United States, faith and credit, that's funny, could be in jeopardy after February 27th if lawmakers don't raise the debt ceiling. Here's the line we're looking for. That's when Lew now estimates Treasury will run out of special accounting maneuvers to ensure the country's bills are paid on time. And I go into just what some of those special maneuvers were. And then that led me to another article I wrote right after that. Sometimes it's kind of nice to jump back to the old shit and go, oh, that's interesting. I'd forgotten about that. I'm going to put the links for the 2 articles down below here on the video when the video goes out. I should have it out by tomorrow morning. Take a look. Because there was a couple of lines in parallel that I drew when we were talking about the debt ceiling back in February 2014, which are not dissimilar to certain things going on right now, like magically occurring hurricanes and stuff. And this I just nabbed just before we went live. You know, I just can't imagine. Survivor testimony mysteriously stolen during an office break-in after human rights sues the CIA. Confidential files containing evidence of violations committed during this El Salvador civil war have been stolen from a Washington-based human rights group just days after it launched legal proceedings against the CIA over classified files on a former US-backed military commander implicated in massacres, death squads, and forced disappearances. And kaboom, all of a sudden, just before they were going to court, it all disappeared. All the evidence got wiped out, broken into their offices, wiped out. I just can't imagine who would do such a terrible thing to a human rights group. Tisk, tisk, tisk. And of course, we have to talk about it again because it just won't go away. And I just love, you know, the ridiculousness of this. Doctors Without Borders, hospital, Afghanistan. Okay, now the U.S. is claiming, because this is the 5th time they've changed their story, 5 times, publicly, in the mainstream. But apparently, the vast majority of Americans are too fucking stoned on crack and Kool-Aid to figure this out. U.S. claims that their $5 billion intelligence system was offline during the Afghan hospital bombing. Yes, yes, there was another computer glitch. Yeah, there's a lot of those that happen nowadays. One would almost think that it's maybe time for us to go back to the abacus and maybe use tin cans with string for communications. Because seriously, all these computer problems, it's just amazing what happens every time these computers glitch in. Now, you remember this. We talked about this last week. China's floating city mirage hoax or sinister conspiracy. CNN reported on it too, which I just found the coverage. Of course, it was a couple days after everyone else. It was kind of like they had to report on it. I guess when everyone else is reporting on it, if you don't, you look like an idiot. So you have to. But again, opening paragraph, a video purporting to show a mass of skyscrapers towering above the clouds in a Chinese city has gone viral, sparking talk of parallel universes and even secret NASA plans to fake the second coming of Jesus. I don't know about you, but I find it very, very interesting that they use almost the exact same words as the London Rag newspaper that reported on this. And the fact that they actually talk about Project Bluebeam stuff publicly. Interesting. Oh, but here we have it again. The Express again in London, because they're becoming my favorite rag newspaper to watch, because, God, they're a lot of fun. What is this strange fiery globe spotted off the coast of Florida? Conspiracy theorists claim that it's the mythical Planet X that will destroy the world. Conspiracy theorists say Planet X exists at the edge of our solar system. They believe its gravitational pull could spell the end of humanity, but NASA has dismissed these radical claims as an internet hoax. Some suggest videos show a solar mirage. Yes. So go in, there's lots of pictures, of course, and we've been discussing this on the roundtable, and we've discussed this multiple times, let's face it. The second sun, which, by the way, seems to be getting bigger from what I've seen in some of the recent pictures. Here we go. It's a reflection of the sun in the upper atmosphere, almost like a mirage. It's not very common, but there's loads of evidence. It's a mirage. You know, we all know how that goes. So anyways, my darlings, it is the end of Transpicuous News. Tomorrow night at 11 p.m. London time, whatever fucking time that is anywhere else, because fucking daylight savings time just did its ass kick and flip around, and I have no idea what time it is in North America or in Australia. I just know that what time it is here. 11 p.m. London, Morocco time. Tomorrow night will be the round table, and as usual, our new rule is we're not talking about what we're going to talk about. ahead of time because it always seems to fuck us up when it comes time to go live. So join us, Lisa Harrison and I, tomorrow night. And yeah, we got a couple of interesting things we want to talk about. I think we might even get into some of that financial kind of shit. I bet. New little bits and pieces coming to light. Yeah. It'll be a good show. And of course, I'll see you next Sunday on Transpicuous News at 9 p.m. London, Morocco time, and whatever the hell time that translates to wherever you are. And for now, hope you guys have a great week. Bye, everyone.
Transpicuous News, connecting the dots between the lines.